welcome, gentlemen, to this very interesting discussion that we have lined up in the next 1 hour. In fact, my wife, after seeing the lineup of panelists, said, "Aren't there any women general managers?" So I said, "Well, there are women general managers, but none of them agreed to come on my show. So there's something wrong with me, I guess." So, but nonetheless, I'm sure we will try to make the best possible use of the hour we have ahead and try to get some serious learnings out of this whole concept we're trying to float, the concept of the safety quotient. And I'm going to request Mr. Anil Mancharamani. He's on the board of directors of the India Expo Mart Limited. As you know, India Expo Mart Limited organizes the India International Hospitality Expo, which is being held on the 5th to 8th of this month, and it will be entirely online. It will be, I think, one of India's first 100% online shows. I invite Mr. Manshramani, who's an engineer. I realize he's my super senior from DPS. Of course, he went to the other DPS Mathura Road, and he's also the managing director of a very well-known company with multiple interests. Mr. Manshramani.
Thank you, Saurabh. Dear friends of IHE 2020, respected panelists, and our supporters in the hospitality sector across 55 countries who have tuned into our past 15 webinars. This is our 16th one. Over the years, we have grown up knowing about the intelligent quotient and more recently the emotional quotient. But in the new normal way of life brought about by COVID-19 pandemic, individuals and institutions are being increasingly measured by their safety quotient. In the months to come, as hotels, restaurants, and malls start opening up, the footfall they attract will be determined to a significant extent by people's perception of how safe they are. These institutions will have to convince people, and they have invested in the right technologies and sanitary SOPs to insulate themselves completely against the dreaded virus. These new additions to the health safety arsenals would involve making major investments, not only in new technologies and systems, but also in retraining and human resources for the new normal world. And it is not enough to make these investments and lift the training levels of their associates. People must also be convinced that these new upgrades are effective and in the larger common interest. To make it possible, much time and money will have to be invested in public relations, exercises to reach the message out to the people. The messaging gets a little complicated because no one appears to be clear about what's best for the people. In discussions we have had in the past, for instance, the jury has been out on matters such as the safety, efficacy of UV technologies and sanitation tunnels. Questions have been raised about the pros and cons of sodium hydrochloride solutions or the permissible percentages of alcohol in the hand sanitizers, or even in the relative efficiency of different SOPs. This divergence of opinions is bound to happen in a situation where humankind is pitted against an entirely new health threat, the likes of which it hasn't seen since the Spanish flu of 1918. Imagine the kind of decision-making pressure it's put on senior executives of the hospitality sector, starting with the hotel general managers who are on the front lines of the sector's fight against COVID-19. With these thoughts in mind, we have convened today's webinar, the 16th in our series, focusing on creative solutions to fall out of the pandemic with 8 of the most experienced general managers of the hospitality sector. They are already deeply engaged in the fight against COVID-19, so they bring loads of expertise and experience to the table. Some of them also head hotels that are now being used to house frontline medical workers and therefore have to follow the strict sanitary protocols. The rest of the hospitality sector has a lot to learn from their experience, for they have followed a routine that the hospitality sector has never done before. With this introduction, let me introduce you to the questions we will be discussing in today's webinar, and we hope the information we harvest will be of relevance to all of you. How the seamless implementation of health and sanitization SOPs will back to the trust of guests and safeguard the occupational health of employees. What has been the experience of hotels that have resumed business recently? Do the new SOPs inconvenience guests and employees in any way? What are the challenges in implementing SOPs? They do involve additional costs, but also does the industry view them as investments in the long-term upgradation of the health and hygiene standards of hotels? Should up and upcoming hotels incorporate these safety measures irrespective of their livelihood, or irrespective of the likelihood of a vaccine against COVID-19 coming along? What is one safety feature or practice that is unique to a hotel group that others must adopt to lift their safety quotients? What features of the new normal life are here to stay? How do hotels propose to counter the negative fallout of the new normal, especially on the earnings from in-house specialty restaurants and banqueting? To answer these questions, we have a panel of luminaries from the industry, and they are Mr. Ashwini Nair, General Manager, Crown Plaza, Greater Noida; Mr. Nayan Sethi, General Manager, Taj Palace, New Delhi; Mr. Rajesh Lambe, General Manager, The Lodi, New Delhi; Mr. Reuben Kataria, General Manager, JW Marriott, Bangalore; Mr. Rohit Arora, General Manager, The Sirijan Vadera, General Manager, Concord, Bangalore; Mr. Vikram Aditya Singh, General Manager, The Leela Palace, Udaipur; Mr. Vivek Shukla, General Manager, Corporate Affairs and The Lalit, New Delhi. On behalf of the India Expo Mart Limited, the organizer of India's largest food production and hospitality services show, IHE 2020, I extend a warm welcome to all of you. I also must take this opportunity to mention that we are going ahead with the IHE 2020, which will be a 100% virtual trade fair, bringing our exhibitors even closer to their buyers. It promises to be a groundbreaking show, which will include conferences, masterclasses, sommelier training programs, and also the coveted IHE 2020 Excellence Awards, all presented to the world virtually. I would now like to pass over the platform to Mr. Saurabh Bhattacharya, the moderator, to take charge and get the experts talking. Thank you, Saurabh. Please go ahead. Platform is to you.
Thank you, Mr. Manshramani. You've set the tone. But before we get into the discussion, we'll have a little film, a short film on IHE 2020, just to give you an idea of what we're planning. Wow, this was the first time even I've seen this film. I think you're the first people to see this film, which is now going to be circulated among all our all our exhibitors and hotel and restaurant partners. Well, now welcome to the webinar, our 16th in the lineup of webinars we have had. Let me, I would request you all to mute yourself right now. Yeah, please mute yourself because there's a lot of background noise coming in, you know. Yeah, okay. Now I'll begin with Mr. Vivek Shukla because Mr. Shukla, you know, by virtue of his name beginning with a V, is on the last of the list. But I'll address the first question to him. You know. The question is, you know, you have been looking after the doctors right from the beginning of this pandemic, and you have definitely learned a lot of things about health and safety standards in the last 2 or more months, you know. What have been your critical learnings, and how do you think hotels can implement them?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Bhattacharya. Thank you, Mr. Mansharamani and IHE for having me on the prestigious webinar today. Dear panelists, industry leaders, aspirants, and fellow colleagues, very namaskar to you from all of us. Yes, the Lalit New Delhi has been home now for almost, this is 3rd month running with our warriors, frontline warriors, our doctors of LNJP Hospital, which we have currently 400 doctors staying with us. And not only Delhi, now we have doctors staying in Mumbai as well. There have been numerous learnings. I mean, can't imagine the life that we led pre-COVID, and the kind of things that we have learned has been tremendous. I think one of the most fortunate things that the Lalit New Delhi had a head start was receiving the infectious diseases heads, the department heads and specialists come and train all of us, including our team members, and training on all the protocols that are required. What is the right way of wearing a face mask? What is the right way of wearing a PPE? What is the right way of sanitizing a particular surface? And what are the do's and don'ts? And I think there are a lot of myths that got busted as well, because many times we all are, you know, so fearful and so scared, and rightfully so, because this kind of a pandemic we've never seen in our lifetime. And I think there was a lot of learning that we took. So things like sodium hypochlorite that we had never perhaps imagined in our lives that we would be using in so frequently. You know, right from the arrival at our main porch, these doctors recommended us to create a mat that is always wet with sodium hypochlorite, doused with every, you know, couple of hours so that it remains wet. And the footwear that is entering the lobby and our hotel is actually sanitized. That's the beginning point. You know, because doctors are coming to the porch of the hotel, we're not receiving anyone at any airport or anything. So they're coming straight from the hospital, and their footwear is actually carrying a lot of stuff, which they perhaps could be gathering at the ICUs or the hospital flooring. And hence, starting from there to the point of the touchless experience, as much as we can provide as a product, we are providing, but at every point of way, how we are able to manage the expectation and ensuring that our employees and our team members are well briefed and trained, and serving them with confidence, because awareness and confidence is very important, and that can only come if we impart the right knowledge and training to them, which we have been literally doing every day. Everyone has been working in making sure that their immunity system is well managed and well kept, and we are fortunate that we have sailed and survived in a very good way, and we are confident going forward this will only get better.
That's right.
I think we need to be positive about it. Thank you.
Right. I think the beauty, I could, this whole like dousing the mat at the entrance of the hotel with sodium hypochlorite is an interesting learning. You know, I think we have to keep that in the back of our mind. You know, Mr. Rohit Arora, he's the general manager, area general manager for the park, New Delhi. You have also had doctors on in your hotel, and you have been running a home delivery service. So you have been pretty busy in the last 2.5 months. What have been your big takeaways from this experience?
Well, good evening, Mr. Bhattacharya. Good evening, Mr. Manchuramani, and good evening, my fellow panelists. To start with, it was actually very different, and our basically our vision statement is this, that leadership through differentiation. So initially, it's quite a big challenge to take this business in, but then like Mr. Shukla mentioned, that we have also spoken to the dean of RML, the business from where the doctors are staying. Currently, we have 170 doctors staying in the hotel, and we have taken their protocol, taken the brief from them, and then I came back and then I spoken to my team. And Mr. Bhattacharya, it's such a fantastic reaction which I got from my team, is that yes, it is a difficult time because it was initially in the month of April when the knowledge on this COVID was also not so much. I think people were scared, and but the way team reacted, that that they said that in any which case, if we can contribute something, being in the hotel, and all my HODs, all my team members, they said yes, we will be able to take this business in, and then hence we started. In terms of safety and sanitization, most of the hotels are following the protocol of sanitizing hands, and like we have sanitizers available all across the hotel, the foot mats, and both for the team members and for the guests also. Having said so, Mr. Bhattacharya, it's a fantastic experience in terms of handling these doctors, and a lot of learning from there. Like the doctors themselves also follow a lot of protocol. Like they just come and they just go to their rooms. They are not, as all the public spaces are not operating, so we are operating through room service in terms of their meal arrangements, and which starts from breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So which has been served to their rooms. Not really served to their rooms, like distancing and managing contactless things. So we
No, in fact, I wanted to, because this is interesting, because room service may in future be like this, What do you mean by contactless room service? Like, do you just leave the dishes outside the door, and then they come out and take it in, or how do you do it?
Sir, what we have done? We have created a WhatsApp group of all the doctors who are staying with us. So
Right.
we do the floor-wise service for them. So
Right.
we do a packed meal for them, and we inform them that the packed meal is safely kept at the lift landing area. So
Okay.
they come, they pick up their food on their own, and once
Okay.
they finish the food, we have timed it so they come and do the clearance themselves. So there's a lot of support from the guests also.
Right.
Means it's not that that they are quite demanding. No, they are not. Rather, they are quite helpful in helping us, because one more thing we have done, that we have also kept a very limited team members because it's a very high exposure thing. So we are working with limited teams, and the teams are supporting so well, and even the guests are supporting very well.
Great. That's fantastic. As you're saying, your team members must be commended. They are exposing themselves to, unnamed risks, frankly, it is not a very easy thing to work in a hotel where people are constantly exposed to the virus. They may not be carrying the virus, but they're constantly exposed to it. Your team members must be commended for the work they're doing. The same goes to Mr. Shukla's team. Now, Mr. Nayan said, coming to Taj Palace, and you were saying just before we started the show that you have been running a fully running hotel, even when there was lockdown, even for the last 2.5 months, it's not been business as usual as it is at Taj Palace normally. where thousands of people come and dine every day. But it's been business as usual to some extent. How have you handled that situation, especially the requirements of the Vande Bharat, the people from outside India and Indians coming in from other countries? How do they quarantine themselves? How do you ensure that they follow the protocol and your staff handles them that way?
Sorry, Shah, at the Tata, being a part of the Tata and IHCL, we've always had a commitment to the community.
Mm-hmm.
And bearing that in mind, a lot of initiatives that were done and taken where, it started with Bombay. So firstly, I was saying yes, Taj Palace is not as running as normal, but it has been operational since the beginning. So first and foremost, we started with the meals for the medical fraternity at various hospitals, be it the LNGP or the Lady Harding or the Guru Tegh Bahadur. Similar exercise was happening in Mumbai and Bangalore. So we have, and for migrant laborers and also the medical fraternity. So we've done roughly about 2 million meals. And then it got in Delhi. Firstly, the hotel started and we doing it and delivering across to these hospitals. Then we went ahead and then TajSATS took over once the numbers were pretty high. And so that was one part of it. The hotel, as I said, has been operational. Then another initiative of the government, which was to repatriate our fellow Indians from abroad. So, it's been, so while they are asymptomatic and all are safe, but protocols have to be followed. So there is highlighted levels of disinfection, also kind of segregating the floors, because we have a running hotel where we had other guests who were staying. So obviously there is no mixing of these people. And government has also issued a lot of clear guidelines on how things have to be handled. So we are taking all precautions with regards to our associates, with regards to these guests, with regards to the normal guests who've been staying, and these guests who are coming in. So as I said, we not only did the separate floors for their stay, where they do not mix with any other guest, and they are kind of confined to their room for the mandatory period of 7 days now. It's also, to take care of their meals, their laundry and everything. So different protocols and SOP coming in different departments. Like the meals are being delivered across by the associate. Now, first and foremost, what we did was we even went ahead and kind of segregated our associates who are catering to these floors. And we have been since beginning housing a large number of our own associates, not only to keep them safe, but also to keep our guests safe. Absolutely. So, and then further, then the segregation happened on these associates who are kind of based on those floors, and they just cater to those floors, which the food and all gets delivered. Similarly, the room servicing from a housekeeping point with a highlighted, disinfectant. And also the fact that, there are certain protocols to switch off the air conditioning prior to a particular number of minutes, so that when the housekeeping person goes, because, it should not be circulating in the air. All these protocols have been kept in mind, and SOPs basis the same. Then comes a very stringent, medical check that happens on a daily basis for these guests. So in there, we have tied up with the hospital, and the doctors come in across to kind of take their medical vitals. And a very detailed chart is maintained and forwarded to the government authorities on the same. So, and all the associates who are there on the floor, they are completely in all the required PPE that is to be taken care of. Each other hazmat suits, basically, they are wearing. Also, the service remains contactless. It gets delivered to the room, and most of our rooms have a system where we just have to pull the drawer, and the food or any other article that has to go just slides into the room. And that's the way we have designed our service philosophy in that. So obviously, following a complete protocol where the guest is not stepping out. Again, the monitoring, obviously people are coming after a long time. They have been away from their families. The
Right.
families want to meet them, but very politely through, a note left in the room while they come in, being informed verbally and taken across. So, those are the kind of protocols we have followed, and we have very categorically told them that they have to be confined. And most of them, I would say, majority of them actually are very appreciative and kind of understanding.
So they don't create trouble for you in those 7 days. Or their family members are calling you up saying, but I want to meet my husband or my father or whatever.
No, I agree there. Those are there, and I would not name the kind of senior people's kids or parents who have come, whether they're Democrats or even the minister, but gladly so, because they have all complied. They have not. Yes, you do get. It's not in part of the hotel industry is to get those exceptions to be made. But when you explain them that what it is and how it has to be kind of handled and maintained, and the good part is, once the team is aligned and well trained to it, everybody is doing the same thing, and so they can't. They understand that this is a big no at the moment, and it will not be allowed, and they can only do it after 7 days.
Okay, good. Nice to see that people are cooperating.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Ashwini Nair, your hotel again has been running throughout. Is that my correct understanding? The Crown Plaza, Greater Noida?
Greater Noida, yeah.
And why, is it because you had long-staying guests? What kept you running throughout the lockdown?
Suresh, had we spoken about a week ago, you would have actually found me in the hotel as part of the lockdown.
Right.
So this is what had happened, end of March, when the lockdown was being announced and things were happening around the 23rd, if I'm not mistaken. We moved in with roughly about 60 staff members, and with hotels in and around us also shutting down, and the permanent guests staying at the hotel. It was, at the end of the day, it was about 120 of us inside a 8.5-acre hotel premise, locked down with absolutely no contact with the outside world. So while social distancing was announced, I think for us it was more like physical distancing from the rest of the world. Socially, we were very, very connected. I must tell you that. The experience, of course, was, as Nayan also mentioned, very interestingly, the challenges were to keep that EQ, the emotional quotient of those people that you were dealing with or guests that you were serving, as well as your own staff and team members, knowing that, you are going to be inside this building for roughly about 15 days, got extended to 1 month, got extended to 2 months. So, that real challenge was to keep that EQ of the people alive whilst introducing the SQ into the entire system. We were fortunate that, the local authorities here, the SDM's office and the CMO worked very, very closely with us right at the beginning. They knew we had these long stay guests. So we got involved with them right from the beginning, and a lot of stuff that is now coming in, whether it be protective equipment, whether it be the kind of washing or sanitizing processes, the distancing that needs to be followed. We were already in touch with the local CMO, and they were, of course, in touch with different agencies like the ICMR or the WHO. So we were really working hand in glove with them in implementing those in our little world inside the Crown Plaza, Greater Noida during those days. And I think a lot of that is now helping us as we've reopened the hotel literally on the 8th of June. That's really come back and supporting us. Of course, with an entirely new set of standard operating procedures, the entirely new set of the new normal, which this SQ or the safety quotient is going to bring into not just hoteliering but our day-to-day lives, I think.
Right. But tell me, you have checked in new guests. How many guests have you checked in the last 2-3 days, or 5 days?
Well, this is quite an interesting thing that the day we opened on the 8th, I had 4 different families come in for a show around of the hotel for weddings that need to be organized. The first one is actually on the 14th of this month with 30 people.
Okay.
Yeah. And starting the 25th of this month till about the 29th, on each day, I think we are now looking at prospectively 3 to 4 different weddings happening.
Wow.
This is a real surprising one because people were actually, where functions or families where weddings were confirmed, they could not go ahead with the functions. The fact that it opened in June on the 8th, and this month really being the last of the auspicious wedding dates, I think people have just kind of surged in to have their functions confirmed. So that's really been the very significant part. The other is, of course, guests that have started coming in, but in small numbers. So guests that are coming and staying with us. We've also been for the past 2 months very active on food delivery.
Okay.
Which I must say that has been quite profitable to us, or at least to the sense that it's sort of opened a new revenue stream where others had shut down. So I see the resurgence happening, guests coming in, not the same numbers that we closed down with, but the fact that they're coming, it's good news for everyone.
That's what I think. That's indeed good news. Ruben Kataria, who's from Bangalore, he's the general manager of JW Marriott Bangalore.
Hi,
Now,
Krish.
hello. Now, tell me, of course, Marriott was one of the first to announce a series of, COVID-related safety and sanitization procedures. But I will move away a little bit. Recently I read that Marriott has signed up with Zomato for food deliveries. Is your hotel also part of this?
So Suresh, while Bangalore has been in a much better position than any other metro cities, so there has been business which has been on throughout the last 2-3 months. Of course, the hotel didn't shut. We had long stay guests. We continue to have repatriation business. We assisted in the repatriation of the Germans, Swiss, Koreans, Thais. So we continue to do business. And then as and when, things started opening in, I think in beginning of May, we decided to launch our own food delivery and then eventually signed with Swiggy and Zomato. And then subsequently, we also, we were planning to launch a food truck, which we then positioned at the porch and, started offering a drive-in option to guests to, come in. Thankfully, the team has been on board since the beginning. We moved people into our hotel, considering the fact that we had long stays. We had about 15-20 rooms. And then especially when we're taking repatriation business, we were not trying to, we didn't want anybody from outside to come in. Everybody was so particular about just keeping a core team in the hotel who has been in, the guests were comfortable and the team was comfortable because there was no exposure to the outside world. And yes, we've opened to Zomato, we're open to Swiggy, we're making a little bit of...
There is a problem, in my mind, and you can help me clarify.
Please.
The problem is now Zomato and Swiggy, the delivery people, they are not tested, or are you sure that they are all tested and
So
taken
yes,
care of?
these are the rules of the new rules of the game. They are tested. We in fact are actually taking temperatures when they come in as well. So we are even maintaining a log sheet. So while whether it is our delivery or another, or Zomato or Swiggy's delivery, the onus lies on Marriott to make it sure that the delivery partners are aligned.
Right.
And
Right.
we are taking enough steps to make it sure that things are done in a manner. Of course, it helps with the fact that Bangalore is not so heavily affected. Within I think we only right now have about 300 odd active cases in the city.
Right.
So that of course gives the confidence to the guests who actually want to entertain at home or to dine at home, or even now coming out. So since the lockdown has opened, we've actually opened our open air restaurant, Merak in Spice Terrace, and we've seen footfalls. We've already done a wedding. So on the 10th, we actually did a wedding.
So nothing can stop the wedding industry.
No, but the very interesting part of this whole exercise was to realize that while we are being trained on a lot of things, and we are trying to save people, people are not really interested in saving themselves. Everybody comes to the party as if nothing has gone wrong. You have to be reminded to be wearing masks. You have to force them to not congregate at a place. But from a customer's perspective, life is normal. It's just that I think we want to portray that we are safe, and maybe that will come handy, because what Marriott is right now working is on a culture of cleanliness, rather than it becoming just a it's not just only for today. It is for a lifetime. We're trying to build in a culture of cleanliness, a culture of hygiene, and understanding why it is important. So this is, I guess, that's where the initiatives which have been taken by Marriott are also quite inclined to have a long-term gain, rather than a very short-term thought process.
Right. Interesting. So Srijan, you're also from Bangalore. You're the general manager of the Conrad Bangalore. Conrad is a young brand in India, and the Bangalore property is about 2 years old, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. Now, what has your experience been the same as Ruben's, or is it different? And also, can you tell me about you said that Hilton Worldwide has implemented the Neo Clinics SOPs for health and safety. What are these SOPs?
Suresa, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be part of this forum. And as we talk, we all have to build trust with our customer back again. I think, as Ruben said, Bangalore is more or less safer place, safer metro than compared to others. We opened door this week, and I'm very glad to share that on day one, we did 2 social events, lunch as well as dinner. And I think overall, my experience of welcoming back the guest was very, very positive. We kind of informed our guest do's and don'ts when they enter the hotel, and everyone kind of managed it well. And then we talk about getting back to the same normal. We have opened our restaurant. Both our restaurants are functional. Tiamo, which is my personal favorite, which is open air, pool. The only thing that we implemented was we asked people to make prior reservations so that we can allocate seats properly, because the seating plan is totally changed now. With,
so how do you manage this social distancing thing? What is the seating plan like?
So the seating plan is we have maximum of 3 people on one regular table, which used to be earlier 5 and 6. And then if there are tables which are next to each other, there is at least 6 feet of difference distance between the tables. And what we do is we manage guests from the entry point of the hotel. We also have Arogya Setu app, which kind of is very, very effective. I've ensured that all our vendors are also gone through basic online training. All our staff has gone through online training. We always had hygiene manager. We had the lab at the hotel. We are a ISO 22000 certified hotel for hygiene.
So all those things were kind of already in place. But I think with COVID, we have to kind of build trust back in our clients. Now you asked me about what are the measures that Hilton as a company has kind of introduced. So we are one of the largest hotel company in the world. We have more than 6,100 hotels, and Hilton worldwide has tied up with Lysol and Dettol as a company. And also there are experts from Mayo Clinic, which is one of the top rated hospital in US. So there is a clean stay program which is getting launched, which you all will see when we go public onto it. So there are high touch points at the hotel, at the restaurant, and the room, which have been identified. There is a complete SOP which is redefined in all the areas, even in terms of how the guest enters to the hotel, in terms of how many people can be allowed in the elevator, the contactless check-in and check-out at the hotel. So there is a digital key which is already enabled, which as a guest you check in, you don't even have to get onto the reception. You can open your elevator access, you can go to the room, and also there's a clean stay, the assurance slip which is being which will be kind of displayed, which will ensure that the guest is aware that Hilton as a company has taken all these measures and to ensure that the safety and hygiene of the guest is maintained.
Right. Now, there is, I'll move to Vikramaditya Singh, who's in Udaipur. He has most recently taken charge of the Leela Palace, Udaipur. You were mentioning that, one question is coming up from several of our panelists. By the way, we have about 27 odd questions lined up, and I'm going to send them later to all of you to answer, anyway, and the number of questions is increasing with every minute. So now, the question I wanted to ask you, there's a lot of fear about asymptomatic people, who sort of come into the hotel, maybe check in for a couple of days, and they leave behind their trail of virus. That may be true even of the staff who's working in the hotel. How do you deal with the fear of asymptomatic people? And you're particularly talking about the SVO2 test. What is that?
Okay, so as part of the Leela, we created a new program called the Leela Suraksha, and what it does is it actually maps out the guest experience journey, the complete guest experience journey, as well as the colleague experience journey. So right from where they live, and those of my dear colleagues who are away at home, etc., we are maintaining a very detailed log of them. Now, we contact them on a day-to-day basis. We fill the log, where are you, Arogya Setu, etc. So all of that is done. Now, what we've done is we've mapped out the primary objective is the access. So luckily in Udaipur, where I have a wonderful lake between us and the guests at some point. So at the entry points, we complete the screening. So for asymptomatic, what we've done is we've apart from taking all of the precautions that everybody's exercising and taking, we've added an SpO2 test that basically tests the level of the oxygen in the body, the percentage of the oxygen, and that percentage is meant to be pretty high. It's meant to be 94 and above. So the moment it's under that, there are telltale signs that there is something. So apparently, I got this from my former colleagues from New York City, where they said that before the fever sets in and before other symptoms sort of become available, one of the things that sort of comes out is the virus attacks your lung system, and it starts creating a pneumonia-like condition, which only worsens. And the moment there is an ingestion of the virus, the pathogenic amount in the virus begins to attack your lungs. So really, we do the SpO2. Beyond that, what we do is we're managing from the fact that we're looking at that circle. If you put people on a circle of 6 feet, 6.5, 7 feet, and it's literally like if you've got a drone over them and they've got a 6.5 feet circle, we sort of keep that. All all the surfaces, every touch point, every surface is sanitized per use. That means the elevator sanitized every time somebody uses it, etc. We're still using cloth napkins, and we have the option of disposable napkins. But the idea is, everybody uses the word called reimagine. We've really tried very hard to not lose the word imagination in the reimagine part of it. So, if you dump all the napkins and you say, well, my napkins are not safe, but the bed sheets are. So ideally, we've gone back to the process and made sure we engineer that the entire process of dirty versus clean is totally separated. The room linen comes in packed bags, sanitized, which are opened in the room, then cleaned, etc. Rooms are literally bombed with UV lights, fogging, the mandatory 4 hours. There's a complete stripping. It's a biodegradable bag. So we've really gone very extensively, and we've isolated, and tried to take the best sort of measures that one can. And
Right.
constantly, it's a moving target. There's no, thank God they don't use a typewriter anymore to do those recipes. Otherwise, it would have been a nightmare, because every couple of days you have an update, or there is a changing thing. There'd be a lot of Tipex consumption if that was the case.
Yeah,
But
in fact, I was just going through, I've got recipes about 7 or 8 hotels, If you combine them, that can be a little encyclopedia. The number of pages per recipe, it's
yeah.
quite.
So this is again a one size doesn't fit all. But as long as you sort of look at your guest experience journey, your colleague journey, and sort of really map that out. And really, the big question that you really have to answer has, an entire tort law is built on that, has the establishment exercised all reasonable care? I'm very confidently, I'm speaking on behalf of all of my very esteemed colleagues here. And I'd say that hotels in general are actually, we're all real hygienists at the back of it. We're all, there's a side of us that is, anal about hygiene. And that's something that we all sell on a daily basis. So I think it's not something new to us. Hoteliers, for one, understand the difference between clean, sanitized, and those of us who've been fortunate to work in kitchens and all, we also understand sterilize. So there are 3 basic aspects to it. So the boundary between sanitize and sterilize is getting thinner, and we're really there. Those of us who are HACCP certified and all know that there are critical control points that you have to manage. You just have to take that sort of a thought process and really go all across and have ring-fenced sort of ideas and processes that sort of take care of each other. So there are at least a couple of fail-safes. That's really important, I think.
I think now I will, this is important, this moving from sanitize to sterilize is an important takeaway, I will now go to your previous incumbent, and your successor at the Lodi, Rajesh Nambi.
I just want to say that my work was very limited because, Rajesh maintained a very, very pristine hotel.
Wow, okay. That's
all compliments to him.
Yeah,
I mean, I literally have to shave myself, otherwise they would have thought I'm Rajesh here, so. And only Shriji is allowed to keep a beard in Udaipur, apparently, so new rules.
Yeah. So tell me, now that you've taken over the Aman, with its rooms with little, what are they? They're not called swimming pools. What are they called?
Plunge pools.
Like plunge pools, yes. So, how's the ecosystem working there,
This hotel, first of all, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, everybody who's there on the panel. Thank you for having me here. We have 52 plunge pools in the hotel, and all our plunge pool. So currently, as we speak, none of the plunge pools are operational. This is as per the government guidelines. So there is no water anywhere.
Because I was about to come to that, those are carriers of infection.
That's right. So, but one thing is very clear that we've signed up with Diversity for our long-term basis. We've already signed up with them for a period of 1 year right now. First level of sanitization is already done. This, which is the entire hotel sanitization, which takes care of the AHUs to the water plants to, I mean, every small little corner of the hotel has already been sanitized, because we also have close to about 19 rooms in the hotel that has been staying with us. And we have 2 batches of our team that has been doing in and out, who've all been COVID tested. So 80 of us have been COVID tested, who take turns to stay in the hotel. So coming back to the plunge pool right now, yeah, we're not operational, but as in when we open the hotel, the plunge pool will be emptied every time the guest checks out. That's the cost of doing business. We calculated, and I'm sure Vikram would agree with me. It costs us approximately about 5,000 to 7,000 rupees every time that we empty the plunge pool and refill the water, purify it, sanitize it, and push it back.
Rajesh, it's just a large bathtub. That's what it is, really. Really, it's just a really large bathtub.
Yeah, just large bathtub with its own functionalities, if I may say so. Yeah. That's what it is.
So, that's a challenge, you will face, in the long run, I guess, but, a place like Amman, which is quite an extensive property, which also has residential accommodation, people are staying there as residents, aren't they? Yeah. So now, how do you manage their lives, and how do you manage to make them COVID free?
So all the residents who've been staying with us have already been tested, number one. Number two, before being tested, as per the norms, their names and mobile number was shared with the local police station, the district magistrate, and everybody else. They've got calls from the government official directly on their personal phones, checking if they were staying with us. Besides that, what has happened is that, as I told you, 80 of us have been tested for COVID. And we are doing a batch of 40 plus 40. So the menu is extremely extensive, thanks to Vikram, but it's equally beautiful. So what we're doing is we've made sure that everything is available on the menu. The food is being served to them in their room. Yes, there is this, I wouldn't like to call it the new normal, because, I'm very sure it will pass soon. This too shall pass. But yes, the wait staff is with the visor and the mask and the glove. So is the housekeeping and the engineering and so on and so forth. So yeah, we're following all the norms, and like all the panelists have already mentioned, all precautionary measures are being taken. And like Vikram said, we as hoteliers have been always trained right from the word go based on hygiene, sanitation, and particularly as far as DLF is concerned, I'd just like to add one line over here. It's, DLF as a company is very, very big on safety and security. So British Safety Council has been implemented across all malls of different categories, including the luxury malls and the hotel and the apartment structure, etc., etc. So this has just kind of enhanced. This is only an enhanced version of what we are going to be doing moving forward. So for the team, it is really, for the Lodi team, it's really just that add-on of the PPE and the distancing that it is going to really matter. Otherwise, it's normal, constant innovation. I mean, like I always keep saying, gone are the days. I mean, fortunately, gone are the days when we moved from pigeon to males. I think this we've now.
Right.
This is just a process of innovation. Innovation. So that's how things are going to be.
And there's one of our audience members, Rahul Datta, has rightly pointed out that I kept calling the Lodi the Mal. I'm sorry for that. Rajesh, your hotel is the Lodi, and we all know about it. But sometimes old habits die hard.
It's the Lodi. We opened as Amman, and now we are the Lodi.
Yeah, exactly. For quite some time now.
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay. Now we have got, as I said, a whole lot of questions. So I guess I will ask each one of you one of the questions we have received from our audience members. Let me start with Nayan, Mr. Seth. One question that's arising, I know it's a bit of a technical question I'm asking you. It's about the HVAC system, Now, how do we make the HVAC system microbe-free? There's always, I always have this fear that I'm breathing in air full of microbes when I'm inside a hotel, How do you get rid of that feeling among people, especially now?
So to do that, firstly, there is an extensive exercise of servicing the whole FCUs or the fan coiled units and other things, AHUs. That is one part. Second part, as I mentioned, was primarily we are resting the rooms. What I said earlier was that and that was specific to the servicing part, which was while servicing these guests have been asked to switch off their air conditioning 30 minutes prior, and then so that there is no circulation that happens. Apart from that, when a guest leaves, at the moment, yes, because the hotels are shut and the normal is to kind of rest the room. So we are resting our rooms for a prolonged period, which is close to about 72 hours we have taken in account to rest the rooms. Then kind of put in for a next guest. So these are the various measures, and apart from the disinfectants that are being used on the, which is kind of making all these aspects hospital clean.
Right. One you mentioned UV lights. Did you, or was it Srijan, who mentioned UV lights being used to sanitize? Vikramaditya. Now, there's a lot of questions about the safety of UV lights. UV rays, in fact, so we had a panel of engineers the other day, they were very skeptical about this whole business of UV rays. What is your take on it?
We're guided by the Surgeon General and the intelligent engineers, but apparently UV is used at a lot of times. You went to your old barber where he would put his little ustara into that UV box. So, obviously it works to a certain level. People doing the UV need to sort of make sure that they are also wearing protective gear and, they're not in harm's way in any way. I just wanted to add to what Nayan was saying. There's a lot of research that's been done, and the same sort of thing. There's a Hepa filter. There's a special type of Hepa filter that saves you from viruses, and those are actually available in India. And I'll share with everybody. Those who don't know, I'm sure you already know that these Hepa filters are placed at the where the inlet and the outlet of the AC in the rooms is. It's not very expensive, but it has a bit of a life. And what it does is it shields you from any sort of this thing. In addition to that, we're all taking, the whole concept of the resting of the room. So, there's a 24-hour rest. Once somebody leaves the room, we don't enter it for 4 hours. After that, it's stripped and then bombed. Literally, it's bombed, fogged, and then kept closed for another 24 hours. And then people go inside the room. So we're taking precautions on that. But I know the future is that people will have independent AC units, at some point in hotel rooms. FCUs, etc., we're all cleaning. But HEPA filter is something that one must explore. I've just sent you a WhatsApp on who can provide it. It's available for home ACs as well.
Okay, fantastic. That's a very good new piece of information coming our way. Mr. Vivek Shukla, there is you are present across, Lalit is present in different categories of towns, So you must be knowing about the market beyond Delhi and Calcutta or Bombay, these hygiene standards, rigorous hygiene standards can be implemented in, say, tier 1 cities. But what about tier 2 and tier 3 cities? Do you think? And also, like resorts, like Bakel, for instance, do you think these protocols can easily be implemented in these places? You have to unmute yourself, Mr. Shukla.
Yes, sorry. Can you hear me? Mr. Bhattacharya, absolutely. Each and every hotels, palaces and resorts from the landscape north of Srinagar to south of Bekal and east of the Great Eastern Kolkata and the west of the Lalit Mumbai, each and every hotel, which is a special hotel and resort palace for us, these so-called standard operating procedures for us is safety operating protocols. So while there are SOPs in place, the safety operating protocols that have been initiated as learning have been implemented across all our properties. And I'm really proud and confident to say that our frontline warriors, all our team members are executing and implementing it. And in some cities, we've gone ahead where we've opened, we have been practicing it through mock drills. And we're trying this out, and all the best practices as shared by distinguished panelists are in place. And we are fairly confident that times to come, we will see more and more guests wanting to come, and especially the drivable distances that are there within cities. We will see more of traction happening there. And it's and I think we as all human beings, we are all social individuals. And I think the nomenclature that we as hoteliers should adopt and use is physical distancing instead of social distancing, because that makes more sense. And I think everyone is fairly knowledgeable in how to protect themselves and how to protect others is what we need to be now looking at, and just making sure that we do this consistently. And I think consistency is going to be the name of the game, because 24-hour cycle, all shifts, everyone has to believe in it and make this as a habit, as a ritual, like we all have of our lives.
Right. Good. I mean, Ruben Kataria, there is one question which is about vendors. We are all okay. We all are convinced that your associates are monitored, your guests are monitored, but what about vendors? And you're dealing with them almost every hour.
Correct. So Suresh, there are two parts to the vendors. One is obviously how they're keeping their own areas. And there's actually a virtual audit which is right now ongoing. So since Marriott's presence within the, so say if I take example of Bangalore, we've got 13 hotels and there are X number of vendors. So what we've done is we've divided it amongst the 13 hotels, and each hotel is taking on a number of vendors and they're doing virtual audits of the place. So there is a committee who's really working hard on this. From the perspective of people who are visiting us, they of course, as the norms are, whether it is a guest who walks into the hotel has to show an Arogya Setu app. The vendors have also been briefed and they also have to go through the same protocol as an associate. So we're not really making much of a difference between, between the norms followed by us or a vendor. And of course, we need to get to a level where we protect ourselves and protect. So our teams are very clear that when they're interacting, the interaction is very, very limited. And there are very specific protocols which have been given to them in terms of following the hygiene standards as well as the temperature control standards. We equally aligned with our vendors the way we are aligned with our associates and our guests.
Right. So the back end is something we don't have to really worry about, seriously.
No, it's extremely important that whatever walks into the hotel, obviously, gets rested first before it's taken inside. There are clear protocols in terms of how to disinfect anything which comes into the hotel.
Right. So Ashwini Nair, I have a question for you. Look, you are technically in the state of UP, and there is a lot of concern about how, say the MHA may issue certain guidelines, but different states interpret them differently. Do you think that is happening, or is it like, the letter and intent of the central guidelines are being translated in the states the way they should be? Or do they make for local they lack certain things locally?
I think, especially for the case of UP, Suresh, they are pretty stringent. In fact, I was speaking to the district magistrate just a couple of days ago, and I was telling him that, the new normal in terms of wedding sizes is 50, but why do you curtail us only to 30 in UP? So they go a step ahead than
So
the others.
these are the regional variations I'm talking about. Srijan, in fact, I'll come to you to talk about Bangalore, but sticking to UP, what are the other such regional variations that have that you have noticed?
So,
Yeah.
sorry.
No,
I just want to say,
okay, you are representing Rajasthan, for instance.
Yes.
What are the
Kamagani?
Yeah, Kamagani.
It's actually come again, honey, for Rajasthan. So we're looking forward to seeing all of you here. So
Right.
just to tell you, we made a representation with the state government. Here it's 50, but we've gone back to them and said, look, there needs to be some sort of a logical computation to this. You have 40,000 square feet of a Maidan, then 50 people in that. I mean, is 50 people inclusive of the caterers, or is it 50 people who are non-catering? And can I have 200 people catering to 50 people? So these are things that just need to be sort of done. So we said we should work at a formula, obviously basing that you need 6, 8, 10 feet between people, and a maximum permissible amount based on the facility that they were utilizing, because this is just an arbitrary sort of number, no?
Right.
3 log se zyada nahi honge, 5 log se zyada nahi honge. All that is just it's very arbitrary, because it doesn't make sense. No, there's a family of 4 people or 6 people. They travel in the same van and they come and want to have dinner together. You seat them on different tables. No,
right.
So that's really, these are things that need to be addressed. And people, obviously, if you're not addressing them, that means you haven't thought through them. When you issue these guidelines, and it is up to the erudite society to sort of go back and tell them, look, fabulous, we understand the context and the logical value of this, but this is implementable. This, you have to come back to us with some sort of reasoning to it. And I think that's important that we all push it.
Yeah, Vikram, I agree with you. We all spoke about the SOPs, and I think it's just going to develop as time develops.
I think that
it's going to be very, very dynamic and very ever changing. Yeah.
Right. For instance, I was just joking with a friend of mine. She said that in America, she's in the wedding business. She has got 5 wedding orders just recently in the last 2 or 3 days. And so I was saying that, what will they say? Now you can't have now you may kiss the bride, So what will they do? Because social distancing will also mean, does the bride, does the groom and the bride kiss each other after the marriage vows or not? Or, so there are a lot of these things which will keep, I think SOPs will have to be developed for all these things, which are part of our tradition. So, Srijan, what is the scene from Bangalore?
Bangalore, the government has been really active, and I'm also part of Bangalore Chamber of Commerce, and I head the tourism and the hospitality committee. So they did invite us, and as a representation of hotels, Chief Minister also met along with the cabinet ministry. And they want to help us, but unfortunate part is there are some guideline that comes from the center government. And this being a BJP state, the ministry has to completely follow that. Some of the rules doesn't make sense also, but they have eased out a lot of things. For example, restaurants are allowed to operate, but we cannot serve alcohol.
Right.
But people can take it away, like a takeaway, and consume at their own place. So which doesn't match. And again, you can do wedding, but wedding or any gathering cannot be more than 50 people. So, and you can have the complete ballroom open only for 50 people. And then those 50 people can be seated together if they want to. Like we can set up the tables separately, but if everyone wants to stand together or, take family pictures and all, as a hotel, we can't control it. I think even for the government, they're kind of understanding what to do, what not to do. But I can tell you the local government here, Karnataka government has been, at least they hear us out. Now, what they do with it, I don't know. But of course, we have met Chief Minister twice. We have met, the complete bureaucrats and all. They made few relaxations also, but there is a lot that can be done. But what I can tell you is, at least they are progressive in what and how they want to relax the rules.
Right. Good. Okay. So, Srijan, not a responsibility rests on your shoulders. If anything goes wrong, you'll be blamed for it. So anyway, Rohit,
I'm already blaming him for most of the things.
Oh, really? Mr. Rohit Arora, one question. You have been, you have seen this business for a long time. One of the issues that comes, like students, I'm going a little away from the safety question, but I'm asking this question because some people have asked this question. A lot of students who are in our audience, they're saying that is it a good time for students to seek employment in the hotel industry? Or what would be your advice? Say the final year students of IHMs, what do they do?
Well, to be very honest with you, Mr. Bhattacharya, there are other extremes which a hotel management graduate can look into it. Obviously, hospitality is one of it, but there are different verticals in sanitization and in terms of cleanliness and in terms of advising hotels how to operate. They can be a different vertical in like a food delivery system, which a student will be more equipped to handle rather than a normal person who doesn't have a knowledge of food and how safely it can be delivered. So these are certain verticals wherein these people will definitely do a value add-on from a regular graduate, I must say.
Okay. I think so. I mean, they should not only look at the traditional options; they should look at newer options as well.
Right.
I guess that is something at least that's a note of hope. Otherwise, do you think they should pursue higher studies? They should, take up some online courses, or what do they do?
At least 3 more months of hygiene training, I think. Maybe.
Because
Read
yeah,
the
hygiene.
recipes. And Oberoi Hotels has apparently put them online and free for the whole world. So, maybe another 6 months of Safai.
Suresh, I would like to, butt in here. I think it's a very, it's an unprecedented time. We don't know, we never expected, and we need to go back to our the new generation who is, budding hoteliers. That this is going to pass. Hotels are not going to vanish. Hotels are going to come back, and it's the first 20% of the occupants is going to be the most difficult to get in. And I guess once things start opening, people will get a little more relaxed and things will start moving up. I think it's just a matter of 3, 5, 6 months, but then we will be back in business soon.
I've seen two, of course, they cannot be compared. I've seen two similar situations. One was, of course, the New York terror attacks, the 9/11, and its impact later around the world. And I've also seen the economic downturn, the 2008, 2009 economic downturn, the impact of that. Of course,
so humanity bounces back.
I've seen that happens.
I was in New York in 2001 when those attacks happened, and the aftermath was 6 to 8 months actually. A lot of businesses sort of relooked at the way they were. I was at an iconic hotel, and even that was stripped down to the bone. We used to do 75% occupancy at a very high rate, and that went down to 10%, 5%. And 8 months back, it was business as usual, just a little more secure. So humanity will bounce back. People just need to be equipped. It's always a good time to sort of increase your toolkit. You have a toolkit. So a great time for people to continue to study. And yes, just the equal number of entrants. There will be a lot of people who retire, a lot of people who will move on. So there is always space in the industry. And, you know, we at the Leela are still looking for talent. You know, there is some sort of resizing going on and, you know, the right sizing and all of that. But the right talent, absolutely, yeah. You know, the guy in that new IHM class who's going to make that the ultimate COVID-proof omelette is, we're looking for you.
Right, exactly. That's true. No?
My
Rajesh,
just
that,
2-bit here, Mr. Bhattacharya, is I think
please,
especially for the
this is
student
this
fraternity.
is a very important question, and what you're saying is very important, all of you.
Especially for the student fraternity that is on this show, thanks to you all. I think maintain your positivity, maintain your equilibrium. And I think what these 3 months, 4 months have taught us is the game of patience. Be patient, be watchful, enhance your skills that you can. And yes, things are not going to be exactly like this, maybe a couple of months down the line. Embrace yourselves to the situation that we are all in. We need to be able to understand that we are able to adapt, we are able to adjust and adopt strategies. Every day is a new day, there's a new learning. Strategies are changing. This, what we decided maybe 2 months ago, may not be relevant today. There is so much of innovation taking place in the space of hygiene, sanitation. There are entrepreneurs being built. We are coming up with ways and means of different streams of revenues that hotels can generate. I mean, online is something which we never thought of, taking it in a big way. The food truck company, it could be institutional caterings that we could engage ourselves in. How to be prudent in managing business in the most efficient manner, in a most cost productive manner, so that we can give a real value to our consumers. Because earlier it was luxury comes at a cost and at a price. Now safety and hygiene will come at a cost and a price. So I think, everyone needs to just hang in there, have your patience, build up your immunity, stay positive. I think mental health is extremely critical for everyone. And I think especially the students and the young budding hoteliers, just hang in there. It's a game of patience that the nature is teaching us. So let's just be watchful and stay positive. Thank you.
Fantastic. So Rajesh, the last question to you, because of your long experience in the food and beverage business, people are asking, look, we are going to lose money. We're going to lose money in banqueting, in restaurants. So how do we make up for that? How do we make good the losses?
See, one very important thing I'd like to tell to the entire food and beverage fraternity over here is, please do not drop rates. I'm not saying increase it. Yes, the cost of doing business is increased because of so many more additions, reduction of seats owing to the so-called physical distancing or social distancing, etc. But having said that, what is important for each one of us to remember is that, we have, while we will cut the flap and we will go leaner in terms of business and all those things will happen. Having said that, we need to be able to feed those who are left behind. So the more you kind of drop your rates and go that direction, I don't think the situation is going to work. 1, 2, banqueting is definitely going to take a beating. The 600s, the 1000s, the 800s definitely is not going to happen. More boutique, more smaller, weddings are going to happen. We just blocked one for the month of August or the end of August. I mean, with a little bit of an inventory at a very high price, at a very, very high rate. And, we at the Lodi, we are very, very clear that we're not going to drop our pants for anybody. Most welcome to come and enjoy the hospitality in the safest possible manner, but dropping the rates are definitely not going to happen. In fact, I'd like to add over here, we have close to about 650 odd club members. We have a beautiful athletic club, state-of-art athletic club over here. And we have in fact planned and proposed that, over the next 6 to 8 months, we are going to, once we open up and once the membership exhausts, we're going to increase the membership by 50%. and we want to actually skim it down and make sure that, people, we have the right, even if the numbers are lesser, but the gentry and everything is kind of more or less streamlined, and it's not the same number of people that's walking into the hotel, which we cannot handle, because we cannot. I'd love more people in the hotel, but it's not going to allow me to do so. So yeah, that's where I think, as far as the F&B and anything else is concerned, please hold on to your rates and fight it out.
Right. Again, as you said, this too shall pass. So,
of course, this has to pass. There is no two ways about it. I mean, imagine Rajesh Nambi as a wait staff with a visor and a mask coming and trying to serve you, and you wouldn't even know if I am behind the mask smiling at you or frowning. We are the looks business, and we are in the people's business, right? I mean, these soft touches of human is what makes us what we are. I mean, we are not sitting behind our desk and making a project. So
I can to have you behind a visor would be like missing out on a lot of lovely jokes, So the time you were F&B manager at your hotel, the Leela Chalakyapuri.
Yeah.
And the amount of jokes used to crack, and keep us all laughing all the time. Doing it from behind a visor will be a difficult task, I think.
Exactly. So we'll do that later.
Well, on that note, thank you very much, gentlemen, for sparing your valuable time for us. We're getting a lot of positive comments from a lot of our audience members, and we have also got about 45 odd questions, which will narrow down to about 20 questions. We'll circulate them among you. Please spare about 10-15 minutes just to answer the questions that catch your attention. Some of them you've already answered. Some of them you may want chief engineers to answer in a little more detailed way. It will really help, because these question and answers are then sent back to all our audience members. And please note that this session has been recorded for YouTube. We have a YouTube channel which is dedicated to us, and we'll be soon sending you the YouTube link also. Thank you, and we hope to meet soon. Remember, August 5th to 8th is when IHE 2020 takes place virtually.
Wonderful. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Kamagani.
Namaskar, whatever. I don't know what to say in Bangalore, but so thank you so much.
Ashrajan.
Yeah. So one last very important thing we have to. Daduji always has the last word. तो दादू जी आप कुछ फरमाइए, आपका वोट ऑफ थैंक्स तो आपका ही है, तो हमारे पास अभी 1-2 मिनट और है, तो आप बताइए कुछ हमारे लिए।
जी भट्टाचार्य साहब, धन्यवाद। ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ IAML एंड IHE 2020, सभी पैनलिस्ट, IHE एडवाइजरी बोर्ड और सभी ऑल ऑडियंस का मैं स्वागत करता हूं, सबका आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। आप सभी लोग IHE वेबिनार में अपना बहुत समय और सहयोग देते हैं। इसका एक कारण मैं समझता हूं, सभी वेबिनार इंडस्ट्री को एक प्लेटफॉर्म में लाने में 100% कामयाब रहा है, जिसका सार से हमारे चेयरमैन श्री राकेश कुमार जी, IAML डायरेक्टर्स और IHE टीम को जाता है, जो 24/7 काम करते हैं और इन वेबिनार्स को कंडक्ट करने के लिए सारा दिन बहुत मेहनत के साथ इनको सब तैयार है। आज हमारे बीच सभी GMs उपस्थित हुए। हमें मालूम है कि सभी अपने अपने कार्य में बहुत ज़्यादा व्यस्त रहते हैं, फिर भी आप सभी ने अपना कीमती समय निकाला और अपने अपने विचार रखे। सबका दोबारा से धन्यवाद देता हूँ। मैं आपको एक चीज़ और के लिए इनवाइट करना चाहता हूँ कि जो हमारा IHE शो, जिसे हम वर्चुअल ट्रेड फेयर की फॉर्म में अगस्त के महीने में कर रहे हैं, 4 से 8 अगस्त, आप सब लोग शो को विजिट करिए। आप देखिए करीब 500 से ज़्यादा कंपनीज हम लोग अपने शो में लाएंगे और आपको नया अनुभव होगा शो का भी, और जो भी नई प्रोडक्ट्स इस टाइम हिंदुस्तान में बन रही हैं और आप लोगों को चाहिए, सारी शो में आपको मिलेगी। करीब 15-16 कैटेगरीज की प्रोडक्ट्स हम लोग ला रहे हैं। इसी के साथ मैं आप सबको दोबारा धन्यवाद देता हूँ और आशा करता हूँ कि जो अनलॉकिंग हो रही है आने वाले समय में हम लोग अपनी पूरी रफ्तार के साथ पुराने समय को एंजॉय करें। थैंक यू।
Thank you so much. धन्यवाद.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll meet soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bhattacharya. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Namaskar, sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good day.
everybody.
Bye.